Welcome to the big kick-off League of Ireland sports bar with myself, Roy Shanahan, and Nathan Doyle, of course. Nathan, a couple of good games on tonight, but not for Pats. Beaten 3-1 by Drogheda, and could you complain?
Well, I could complain, yeah. From a St. Pat's point of view, you can always complain when your side is beaten. But I suppose you mean we weren't hard done by, and which we weren't. Drogheda with a much better side. Over 90 minutes, I think Pats were a very frustrating performance to watch, probably the most frustrating performance this season. We've seen a couple of tight Pats games, but yeah, there was a lot of sloppiness here. I felt the midfield in particular, Jamie Lennon, Chris Forrester, lads that you're relying on to take the game with a scruff of the neck, just didn't really do it today. Ditto with Matty Smith up top. A lot of strange decision making on his behalf, and a couple of others. We've seen Coughlin have a couple of moments where maybe Bircham was making an overlap, so he could have slipped it out to the left hand side, and he's having a shot from 30 yards out. And yeah, there's a lot of frustrating decision making, a lot of sloppiness. The passing was really, really erratic at times. A lot of the big players didn't show up. Yeah, I was very disappointed from a St. Pat's point of view. That's not taken away from Drogheda. Fantastic on the night. Gary Deegan in particular, for me, commanded everything. He commanded the tempo. He commanded everything good that was coming from Drogheda United. So, yeah, fair dues to them. I could sit here and go on how disappointing Pats were, but you do have to give credit to Drogheda. They took chances fairly well. 2 cracking goals in the first half. The free kick by Dame Massey in particular was a real highlight. So, yeah, it's hard to discredit them. And I was already warned by a pal of mine not to mention a certain Drogheda United player. We all know who that is. I seem to mention him every week. Mr. A certain right back. That's I'm not going to say anymore. But yeah.
But I tell you what, he is standing head and shoulders above a lot of these players out on the pitch week in, week out, and he was no different this week. I thought he was excellent today. He is not going to last at Drogheda. Drogheda fans mightn't like you saying that, but he's just not going to last there. He's too good to be playing for Drogheda, and he might even be, in my opinion, too good to stay in the league, because there's certainly something about him. He's a great willingness to run, but he has great quality, and his crossing is really good as well.
Yeah, serious. For people that don't know the joke, it's just talking about James Brown. We come on here every week and talk about him. Sorry, Rob.
The fan club.
Sorry, Rob, if you're watching, he told me not to mention him. I had to. Yeah, look, and he's not the only one. The likes of Chris Lyons, again, he's really coming into form this season. Struggled to make an impact at Bray. Even like last year, he came into things at Drogheda, but we should join top goal scorer this season in the League of Ireland, doing really well. Mark Doyle impressed me again today. A lot of good performance. As I mentioned, Gary Deegan, probably head and shoulders best player on the pitch for me today. It's a really good Drogheda side, and I think the fact that obviously people are always going to talk about them for relegation just because he came up. I never thought that was going to be the case. There's too much quality, even on the bench. They have some good options on the bench to bring on. You even just think that top of my head, and he didn't come on today. But Hugh Douglas, fine centre half, plenty of experience. Dinny Corcoran, by the sounds of things, could have got man of the match. He was mentioned that much on commentary for a player that didn't play any football. So yeah, it's a good strength and depth that Drogheda have at the moment, and they'll be fine this season. They really are impressive to watch. They really, really are.
You couldn't complain, though, with the game, because, in all fairness, Drogheda, if you compare the first half, second half, St. Pat's did put pressure on the second half and had opportunities. But overall, in the whole game, I just thought Drogheda, especially their first half, they destroyed St. Pat's in the first half. I didn't think St. Pat's put a glove on them. Second half, you could say that St. Pat's stepped it up and played more St. Pat's like this year. But Drogheda didn't. Drogheda kept fighting, unlike Pats in the first half.
Yeah, they really did. First half, yeah, like I said, they were head and shoulders above the Pats side, a lot of pressing. But we've seen that a couple of times, we even thinking back to when Pats played the likes of Derry City and Longford. They showed when a team does press St. Pat's, they can make the defence make some decisions. Sam Bowen, as good as he is, maybe he's arguably not very, the best player on the ball with the ball at his feet. He tends to make some erratic decisions. Lee Desmond, unfortunately, made a bad mistake last week against Shamrock Rovers. He was a bit nervy again today. So the two centre halves and end there, they can't be got at if pressure was put on. We've seen that in the first half. And in fairness, as much pressure as Pats put on the second half, there was a couple of decent chances, but Drogheda always looked dangerous from the break, didn't he? Like the pace that they have going forward, in Mark Doyle in particular, for me, it's always going to be a real threat no matter what way they play. If they're pressing you or they're comfortable sitting back and catching it in the break, there's different elements to this Drogheda team, and they're going to be dangerous for a lot of sides going forward this season.
Yeah. What do you think went wrong with Pats? Where did it go wrong for them? Was it just the tempo? They didn't start off with a good tempo and just couldn't get back in the game?
I think the mix of that, yeah. Like I said, a lot of the big players. There was, I think that's the one good. We can't sit here as a Pats fan and complain about having Chris Forrester back to his best is a bad thing. But when you have a player like that, you tend to look to him to create things and get moves started. So when someone like Forrester is having an off day, which he did today, the whole team seems to be lacking that bit of creative spark. So yeah, I think it's a mix of a poor starting tempo, a good Drogheda press, and a lot of the big players just not turning up for me. And just as well, the final third just wasn't good enough again. There's a lot of decent chances. Players are probably taking one too many touches where they probably should be hitting the first time and getting it out of their feet. And yeah, a lot of frustration decisions like that from the Pats point of view. And 3-1 might flatter a little bit if you didn't see the game. You might think it was a complete batswin. But Drogheda would definitely do it. They were worthy winners for this one. They easily deserved the 3 points.
Yeah, well, you're going to take that one on the chin and wait for the next game because them games come around, so you're just going to have to move on to the next game, which they more than likely will do. And there's too many good players to get stuck in the rut now. So, wipe it clean. Okay, the game earlier on was Finn Harps against Dundalk. And something similar to what happened in the Drogheda and St. Pat's game, Dundalk just didn't start. And Finn Harps were at them right from the get-go, put an awful lot of pressure on. And exact same thing here. Another screamer to start off the game.
Yeah, great goal, wasn't it? But yeah, by McNamee, in fairness, it's mad to think, that Dundalk side in the first half was a shadow of what he were a couple of weeks ago. An absolute shadow. So poor. Again, it's frustrating, even from a fan of the league. You want to see big players standing out and having big moments. And in the first half, Michael Duffy was completely non-existent. You said Barry McNamee's goal was great, a big chance. The likes of Carl Sullivan had a massive chance in the 23rd minute. It could have went 2-0 up. The movement from Adam Foley was causing massive issues. There was a lot of good players in the first half. Stephen Doherty, another lad, 20 years of age, was a real danger for Finn Harps in the first half. I think the only real chance, and I know it's funny saying that, the only chance that Dundalk really had was Michael Duffy had it at the back post. And that's the only real thing Dundalk done. That's the only real thing Michael Duffy done too. Yeah, it was crazy to see how off Dundalk really were, because they were really, really poor. And then it's mad, isn't it? They come out, whatever the team talk was, the tempo from Michael Duffy and from Dundalk in general, even Han got into things much more. Junior came on late in the day. He made a massive difference, I thought. It's mad to see. It really was. It was such a difference, a lot of chances. They really could have turned it around in the first 15 minutes of the first half, Dundalk. They got a goal early in the second half that really set the tempo for them, and they were probably extremely unlucky not to come out with all 3 points, because he had a lot of chances late in the day. McGinley in goal pulled off some cracking saves, and they're probably thanking him, because without McGinley in goal, Finn Harps could have easily lost this one.
Yeah, and I think the one he touched over from the free kick near the end of the game was that was world class. Yeah, an unbelievable set. Well, Dundalk out of the title race. There's no way they're going to come back. I mean, it'd be the most unbelievable thing to ever happen in football ever if Dundalk came back now and put up a title challenge. But if they don't get a manager in, you just can't see anything changing, because there seems to be, and the problem is now, is a new manager comes in, he's with the players that he has, and he has to be a really, really good manager, doesn't he?
Yeah, he really does, because I think we've seen it's a fair assessment now. We've been through one fixture. We can get a feel of who's performing, who's not performing, and I think that it's safe to say the recruitment, some of the lads that he brought in just aren't up to scratch at all. It's just been some poor performances. So no matter who comes into that role, like you said, that's the hand he's been dealt, and that's what he has to play with. It's going to take a while for this new manager, whether it be David Healy or whoever it may be, it's going to take a while for him to come in and put his own stamp on that team. So the lads he has there at the moment, the European football, is that even realistic at this stage? It's hard to tell, you know.
And at this stage, Nathan, just on that, everyone keeps talking about they have a great squad. They just need to get them gelling together. Does he, if David Healy, say, does come in, does he have a good squad? Does he have a great squad that he's going to actually be able to produce stuff? Or is there something missing?
There's good players there, right? Yeah. There's definitely something missing from what was there a couple of years ago. There's a real lack of leadership, which is strange to say. Was like, especially now, we know with Chris Shields out and Brian Gartlin now, Gary Rogers gone, real lack of leadership there, you know. Unlucky with injuries up in the forward end of the pitch too, with Hoban and Dave McMillan now injured, you know. So they've been unlucky in that aspect. But like I said, the recruitment, the lads he brought in, some of them just are not up to par whatsoever, you know, and that's not going to change. So it doesn't matter who the manager comes in, the ability isn't there. The ability, it's just not there, you know. So while I'd go along with the fact that I do think they have a good squad, and when it's everyone's fully fit, they have decent strength and depth. But yeah, it's going to take a while, you know. It really is, and it might not be next year either, because there's certain players there that's not up to scratch, and they're going to need to be moved on.
Yeah, and it just shows you what everything that Shamrock Rovers have been doing, albeit that the money sticks around, because if the money doesn't stick around, then they could crumble as well. But from what they've done with their youth set up and the players that are coming in, and I mean, we'll talk more about Richie Towell now in a minute, but everything seems to be well thought out, where you can't say that with Dundalk at all.
No, it's not. And I think it goes back to what we said at the start of the season, where myself included, we were all talking about the uncertainty on the pitch with a lot of the new signings, but there was a lot of uncertainty off the field too. You know, this is the Dundalk team that usually acts with a COO and a general manager in the club, and that wasn't the case coming into this season. So there's a lot of, I just talked about the leadership on the pitch, but you could say that about the off the field antics too, you know, and the managerial change just so fresh into the season and really shaped things up. So the uncertainty hasn't gone away, and it's probably actually grown as the season has gone on. And that's going to remain the fact, and probably going to remain the fact even if a new manager comes in. You know, it's going to take a while. And going back to your Shamrock Rovers point, you know, you do have to give credit there, because I think as now, looking how well they're playing, we tend to forget that, you know, people were called for Stephen Bradley's head not that long ago in the grand scheme of things, you know. But in fairness, Shamrock Rovers, you know, in the past, probably over 10, 15 years ago, they have a reputation for being a revolving door system with managers, but they stood by their man, and they obviously seen something in him, and the work that's going on in the first team and in the youth structure and everything around the club is fantastic to see, and they're really reaping the rewards in there. Some of the young lads coming through at Rovers, we talk about the strength and depth, and like you said, we mentioned Richie Towell in a minute now, but some of the younger guys coming through, you know, there's some decent lads here that are set up with some good homegrown talent as well. Yeah.
So does it show where Shamrock Rovers are compared to Dundalk? Seems we're talking about Dundalk now, that Richie Towell is not going back to Dundalk and he's going to Shamrock Rovers. It can't be for money. Surely they can compete with each other on the money terms. So, or is it?
It has to be part of it, doesn't it? Like, I wouldn't say a guy like Richie Towell, who's on a decent wage, to say the least, or Salford City, by all accounts, the highest paid player at the club. So it has to be a monetary side to it as well. But
3.5 year contract as well.
Yeah, 3.5 year contract too.
Maybe that's the attractive side.
Yeah, I think you get a contract like that in the League of Ireland, they're few and far between. I know we see the likes of David Parkhouse, he's on a long-term contract at Derry City as well, but historically in the league, these contracts are few and far between. So I think that was probably the main selling point for him, you know. In the stage of the career that he's in, his young family to think of, he's a Dublin native himself. So I think a mix of that probably would have been the main, as boring as it sounds, would have been the main reason for his decision.
Yeah. Where does he fit in the team? Because the team is performing so well at the moment. Where is his position? And does he slot in straight away, or does he have to work hard to get in, do you think?
No, he has to work hard to get in there. You know, you don't think he's under any illusions whatsoever. In fairness to Stephen Bradley, he does tend to change around his midfield a lot, you know, and I think with Europe coming up and with the FAI Cup coming up, you know, they're going to need some squad rotation there. But Richie Towell, you know, he's not going to come. He's not going to come and want to be sitting on the bench, you know. So
good evening, Ush. You might have to get your spelling sorted out there, Ush.
that's all right. I mean, not always at that. Yeah, but going back to Richie for a second. Yeah, it's going to be difficult for him. Like I said, some more competition coming up. They're going to need squad rotation. So while he's not going to be a squad player, he's too good of a caliber of a player to be that solely. I think the 3-year deal helps him as well. Danny Mandrew, he's performing well this season. I think for the last year, there's rumours of him going over on trial with Millwall and seeing how that works out. Dylan Watts, is he too good? Is he too good of a player not to be playing regular football? Will he want to move on and become a main man somewhere else? So if maybe one of these lads leave, all of a sudden a gap opens up. But it depends where you want to play him. I watched him at Salford as often as I could, and he was quite versatile. So could you take out someone like McCann and use Towell as a deep holding midfielder? Could you put him up as an attacking midfielder, as a number 10 role out on the left hand side? In fairness to Richie, since he left the league back from his Dundalk days, 2015, he's become more of a versatile midfielder compared to the last time we've seen him. So that option is available for him as well. So it's going to be interesting. But no, I wouldn't say he's under any illusions he's going to walk into that squad. And I wouldn't say Stephen Bradley will have that happen either.
Yeah. So is he a good signer?
Yeah. No, it's a good sign. Yeah. He's a very, very good player at the end of the day. Like I said, seeing him at Salford, this isn't a guy that's leaving Salford as a failure. He unfortunately, injuries have been prevalent with him the past couple of years, so that's something he's going to want to hope that doesn't happen again. But when he's been fit, he's played for Salford City. I know it's League Two, but he's played. He's done well. He's won the EFL Cup, and it was the 2019 and 20 Cup, even though it was only played a couple of weeks ago because COVID and all that. But he's done well over there, and his performance have been to an acceptable level. And by reading the social media messages, there was well wishes for him. They weren't happy to see him. The fan base certainly wasn't happy to see him leave. So he's a good caliber player, a player that's been successful in the league itself, won 2 league titles with Dundalk. He's been to the top of the mountain in Irish domestic football. So it's definitely a good player to have. And it only adds to the strength and depth at Shamrock Rovers, which already is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah. We'll just have a quick look at the first division. Galway won Wexford 0. Wexford are managerless. They need a manager in. I suppose the big question for Wexford is, if a new manager comes in, does he make any difference? How can he make a difference? Can he make a difference?
Short answer, no, I don't think so. If you look at the player budget and even the general resources that Wexford have compared to squads in and around them, there's still a massive difference, and in fairness to Brian O'Sullivan, left by mutual consent, it was probably an impossible job for them anyway. They're sitting rock bottom of the first division with no points on the board. They were very unfortunate here tonight. This would have been a massive draw for them away to Galway. Very unlucky with a 95th minute goal they conceded. Probably more of a damning indictment about the state of the current Galway squad at the moment than anything else. This is a Wexford side that we're seeing being rolled over on the weekly, and I would have thought Galway would have been a comfortable enough victory for them at home, especially. But yeah, it's going to be a difficult ask. You have the likes of Tom O'Connor is in there now as the interim boss. Jason Goodson and Colin Gregan, I believe, is in as the assistants as well. So the day stay there is a good opportunity for them, to the players know them. They've been in the coaching system for a while now at Wexford. They bring in, maybe Stephen Henderson. He left his role at the academy in Shelbourne. He's been out without a job. A man that's won the first division with Cove Ramblers many moons ago, but has some sort of pedigree down in the first division. Shane Keegan. You never know. Shane Keegan had a successful spell with Wexford as well. Again, won the first division back in 2015 with them. So I think it's going to be difficult, whoever they do bring in. Like I said, the resources that they have at the moment, the squad that they have, and that's not a knock on the lads. It's just the level is just different, and you can see it already by the league table. We can point out Cove Ramblers and Cabinteely, teams that you might imagine will be in and around the bottom of the first division this season. The difference between even those squads is it's starting to show now already. So it's going to be a really, really difficult job for anybody to go in at the moment. Yeah, it really, really is a difficult task for anybody. And good luck to them. I really do wish them luck, because this is a Wexford side that not too long ago we seen up in the Premier Division. So it's always a shame to see, and it's going to be really, really difficult. Really, really is. Now, if it is the likes of Shane Keegan that go in.
Yeah. When you look at Wexford and then you look at Treaty, who come into the league, and again tonight beating Athlone 1-0. I mean, that's an unbelievable victory tonight. It just shows you, I suppose, there's players out there for Wexford to be able to get. I mean, Treaty are getting players from Munster Senior League, and obviously a few people who have had League of Ireland's experience. But, I mean, are Wexford just too far out of the way for people, or there's no leagues around them that they can kind of pluck people out of? Is that their problem?
Yeah, I think the comparison with Treaty, like you said, like the Munster Senior League, it's well regarded in the country, and it would just produce some fine players. We've even seen Cove Ramblers this season pick a few decent lads off. Dave O'Leary, perfect example, has been really impressing the masses down in Cove at the moment. So the Munster Senior League is probably more of a proven breeding ground, really, isn't it, for them to pick off? And all credit to them, they've done it well. Yeah, it's strange when look at the Wexford side this season. It's a lot of younger lads too that just haven't got a lot of experience within the league. They do have a couple of senior heads, of course, but the likes of Kyle Robinson on loan from St. Pat's leading the line, Jimmy Corcoran, who we've seen getting sent off, limited experience. I think that's really the mix of it, probably a bad comparison with Treaty, just because the Munster Senior League and the established players that have played with Limerick not too long ago, they were happy enough to pick them off and bring them back to the club.
Yeah, I think it's just it's a comparison with Treaty, mainly because they're in the same situation where they can't get players, but Treaty are in a good position geographically rather than Wexford, and that's their biggest problem probably. So, and it's probably a big problem going forward unless they can, I suppose, develop the players that they have there and develop youth players coming through. So there's a big project there for whoever takes on that managerial job. We'll go on to Treaty because 1-0 against Athlone. Athlone having a wobble.
They are having a wobble, yeah. It's been a bad day for me. Passing Athlone without getting beaten. I'm going all in now with this Athlone thing. Why not? Look, 3 defeats on the bounce. We'll not be happy with that one. We're going to get on to Bray as well. They got a decent win. So the sides in and around them are starting to pick up some decent points now. Galway with a late goal. Shell's not playing until tomorrow. So, yeah, to be disappointed with that one. But Treaty again, they're going to be a difficult side to play. They've only one defeat this season, which is absolutely fantastic, and the mantra of, it's great to have football back in Limerick, that's long gone now, they'd be looking at that playoff position and thinking, why not? Jack Lynch on the scorecard, if anybody wants to keep tally. They didn't get a player sent off again. That's everything's a win,
That seems to be the key.
This is a Treaty United side, which is strangely has a bit of an obsession with getting lads sent off. So, yeah, look, good 1-0 victory against an Athlone side at a very game. Scored goals on a good basis, very solid defensively. But so Treaty United, the defensive record in the league is absolutely brilliant. It's up there, one of the best, if not the best. Difficult side to play against, and fair play to them. And
with every game that goes by with Treaty, the confidence must be building and building. So the Treaty train could keep going. This could be a serious team pushing for a playoff position now.
Yeah, no, definitely could. We have Cabinteely next away from home, Bray Wanderers at home, and then they're playing Wexford away. So again, next 3 games, there's opportunity to pick up points there and to keep it moving on. Like we touched on a lot this season. I know Galway, they're back up in the playoff position, but they have been underwhelming performance-wise. Cork City probably letting a lot of people down as well. People thought they would have been up there, not too sure. So there's a real chance for them, as much we're joking and laughing, but we're not laughing about them. There's a serious opportunity for them there, and there's some good players in the end of the day. Max Sweeney, he wasn't on the score sheet today, but for me, anytime I've seen even any clips or highlights or anything, he's been a real, just the one standout player that came off the top of my head. So there's definitely an opportunity for them, and it wouldn't be brilliant. It really would be brilliant. To see them getting back even to the playoffs in their first year back in League of Ireland football, because Limerick needs it, and just to have a good standard of football back in Marketsfield, it's just great to see.
Yeah, we'll come back to the first division results, the ones that are left over, but we just want to talk about Waterford. Waterford seem to be a club who are just falling apart. A bit of a laughing stock at the moment with the way things are being handled. I'd say Dundalk are delighted to have a Waterford around at the
Yeah.
moment, just to take the heat off them. What did you make of the Waterford and Sligo walkover game?
Yeah, Sligo won't be happy. I know our very own Niamh McGee won't be happy. This would have been a good opportunity for Sligo to probably realistically pad out the goal difference. You know, we've seen the Waterford under 19s getting well beaten 7-0 by Drogheda United. So you would have fancied Sligo Rovers there, definitely, especially at home. But I think with things like this, you always have to sort of take the approach of, would I want that for my club? Would I want the under 19s for my club going out and getting another embarrassing, another spanking? This is an under 19 side that until they drop the game haven't trained together for months, which a lot of people seem to be forgetting. The under 19 squads haven't been back at all. So the fitness levels are going to be off. The match sharpness is going to be off. You just don't want to put you under 19s up to that. You know, it literally is figuratively and literally men against boys. So you can see why the decision was made. I know it's probably not the popular opinion, but I can certainly see why it was made.
But what about, you have 7 goals going in for Drogheda? That's +7 on their goal difference rate. Sligo are going to go in there. It's not a level playing field. It's not fair that you can decide that you're going to. Now, that's not saying that. And Sligo might only go up there. They might beat them 1-0. They mightn't even beat them. You know, you don't know what's going to happen on any given day. But generally, the consensus would be they'd probably ship a few goals. And it can't be fair. Should Waterford be punished for not fielding a team?
I'd be surprised if they hadn't. I really would be. You know, we've seen COVID cases pop up with other clubs around the league, like Wexford, for example, in recent enough, and they still had to play. They still had to fill a team as best as they could. So it's definitely something we haven't seen before since COVID has come around, isn't it? That we've seen a complete under 19 squad step up. So I'd be surprised if they don't. Again, Dundalk are probably unlucky that they weren't in a similar situation with everything that went on up there. So, yeah, I'd be surprised if Waterford aren't punished in some sort of shape or form, because, again, it'd be a nightmare for them, you know. It just adds to everything that's going on there at the moment. It's not a good look. It really isn't a good look, you know. And I like I said, I have my reasons that I think the under 19 squad shouldn't fall on their shoulders to be put to the sword the way we would expect them to be, but it's not a good look for a side like Waterford just to be forfeiting games the way they are. And yeah, I'd be surprised if some sort of punishment, points deduction, fine, something like that isn't coming their way.
Okay, what about the new man, Marc Bircham? What do we know about him? And he has a job in his hands, doesn't he?
He does, yeah. By the way, he was the funnest person to research. I stumbled across an interview. I think it was on something like Under the Cosh. I don't want to plug another podcast or anything here, but I was just walking to my day job here. I said, no, I'll have a look. I'll read about him. I knew we were doing this tonight. I'll have a little listen. He was telling some stories. It was only like an hour and a half podcast. And if nothing else, he's a likeable geezer. He is really, really likeable. Some of the stories that went into it about him being in jail, his playing career, some of the stories to tell. Like, I will not do it any justice. Go up and anyone that's interested, go and listen to it. It's fun. It's really, really fun. But yeah, look, away from him being a likeable guy, that's not going to get him anywhere. His main bulk of his coaching career was in England with QPR and with Millwall. He played there during his playing days. He has a lot of coaching. He's decent enough coaching experience over in Chicago and Arizona in the MLS over in America. So, and a lot of that as well, it wasn't first-team managers. He only had an interim manager spell at QPR. A lot of it was as assistant manager. So this was probably his first real go at a managerial job. Didn't work out too well for Kevin Sheedy. I was surprised that they went with someone like this. I thought he probably would have played a bit more safer and got somebody in that knows the league a bit better, but maybe they don't want to touch it either. You know, it's Waterford. It's a real mess at the moment, and it wouldn't be the most glamorous job. And especially if you're a manager that's probably been let go from somewhere and you want to bounce back, maybe you don't see Waterford as the place to do that. So while I was surprised with the appointment, I thought he would have played it safer. he has a real job in his hands because a lot of it he's walking into a mess already, you know. Even before he does anything with everything that's going on with COVID and with the under-19 squad.
Yeah. Okay, we go back to the first division. Bray got a win under their belt again. They're just slowly starting to tick over. And you probably expect Bray to beat Cabinteely at the moment, and UCD and Cork. Well, that's a great result for Cork because UCD are, as we keep saying every week in, week out, they're a hard team to beat. And if you're having to put a few quid on that game, you very well may have put it on UCD.
Yeah, again, another week. I'm glad I didn't write a preview because that would have been me. But I would say UCD would have been me banker. Yeah, look, UCD, they're still unbeaten. So if you look at it that way, you know, that they're still... They'd be disappointed, don't get me wrong. They would be disappointed not beating Cork City at home. The way they've been putting the team to the sword, you know, they've... Even in the past 2 weeks, they scored 9 goals. So they're scoring goals for fun, you know, free scoring. So they will be disappointed not to beat Cork City at home. But yeah, for Cork, it's a great result. This is the sort of ones they're going to have to start picking up now. It's muddled this year, isn't the first division? And it's really exciting, you know. It's definitely the one to keep your eye on more so compared to the Premier Division, which is going to be a bit more... You can sort of predict. You sort of know what's going to happen, don't you? Really, in the Premier Division, it's predictable. That's the word. I couldn't think of it there. You know, mind went. It's going to be more predictable this season. With the first division, it's going to be great to watch. You know, and even tomorrow, you know, Cove Ramblers and Shelbourne. Another mad result could be thrown up there that could really put the cat amongst the pigeons. But yeah, UCD sitting top of the table. They'd be disappointed not to extend a little bit of a gap, like I said. But Shelbourne not playing till tomorrow would have been a good opportunity, and it's probably an opportunity lost for them, especially with Athlone dropping points today as well. This would have been a good opportunity for UCD to put a little bit, not much daylight, but that little bit of daylight between them and Shells just for the short term.
Yeah, I suppose not losing is an important thing. If you're not going to win, don't lose. So that's they'll take that point and move on. Dundalk during the week, there was a big hullabaloo about the breaching COVID cases or rules. What did you make of that? And we must nearly be starting to get out of that now, aren't we? I mean, we must be peeking out around the corner at getting people back into the stadiums.
Yeah, I thought we were away from stories like this, to be honest. I thought the lads would have had more cop on. At this stage, we've been at this for a long time now. So, first of all, yeah, it was just an idiotic thing to do by the players going to Belfast the day after the Sligo Rovers game, which we were beaten. So, they wasn't going to celebrate because the performance in that game was shambolic. I know some of the lads photographed do live in Belfast, but not all of them do. So, yeah, that's a bit of a cop-out excuse as well. Yeah, it's just idiotic, really is. It's just a stupid decision by the lads that done it. And they've came out, they've apologised. Jimmy Gilden, I got his name. Jimmy Gilden, I've been working on it. I've been doing my homework. Yeah, he came out and said that, yeah, apparently he fined them and he made them make a charitable donation. So, bit of a slap on the wrist by the lads that done it. They know that they've done wrong, but these are the stories that, you know, it's frustrating as a League of Ireland fan, isn't it? Because these are the things that people that aren't into the league point at. You know, they point at and say, oh, there's Dundalk players, they were caught in Belfast, and that's such a body was coherent. That's more so what it is. It's just more frustrating that lads are still doing it this far into the COVID-19 situation we find ourselves in, especially with the talks of fans coming back to grounds sooner rather than later. You know, you'd hate to see stories like this holding that back.
Yeah. Okay, Nate, we're going to leave it there. We've had a good week again. There will be a few videos popped up on the YouTube channel over the course of the week. There's a few interviews going to be put up, and we'll be putting that up there. Look at thebigkickoff.com for all your League of Ireland and other sports. There's plenty of other sports on that too. And of course, our social media on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, whatever. Go and search for us. We're there, The Big Kickoff. Nathan, thanks very much.